Kenneth Jackson.
Kenneth Jackson.
Hmm.
Okay. When and where were you born?
Houston. What you want to know the
The
year?
Yes, sir.
1951.
Okay. How did your family get to Texas? Where were they before that?
Nowhere. They lived in Texas. I'm an original Texan.
Oh, that's good.
Barring the trip across the Atlantic.
Okay. What do you remember about your childhood?
That's a very, very general question. I remember quite a bit.
If it refers to racism.
I grew up in a segregated environment. Actually, it was, I think I was in the ninth grade when segregated schools were dismantled, and everybody in my eighth grade class going to the ninth grade, all of us were freshmen at the white school. We were the first group to actually go completely through that school. Well, actually, we were the first to actually go, and then the first to actually go through. So that was a pretty interesting experience. My years prior to that, 1 through 8, thinking about it, because that's basically the way I kind of remember it. My years growing up from kindergarten through the 8th grade was exclusively in a all-black environment. Didn't have any ideas about racism because white people didn't matter. My world was all black, and everything I needed in my world was there. Food, clothing, shelter, friends, you name it. We came to Houston because I didn't live in Houston specifically, but when we come to Houston, we came to an all-black world. We came to Dowling Street. We came to Lyons Avenue. We came into a black world. White people didn't exist. White people were irrelevant, basically.
Wow. Okay. What notable moment in American history sticks out the most in your memory?
In terms of racism, right?
Yes, sir.
That period.
That period.
Yeah, I mean, because all of that world that I just described to you was torn down. I mean, all the teachers that we knew, they were fired. We hired maybe 1 or 2. All of the hotels that you go to, all the restaurants you go to, they pretty much died because people all of a sudden thought there was something special about going to white institutions, going to white schools, going to white restaurants, going to white hotels. Okay.
Okay. What did you study at Texas Southern?
Sociology.
Sociology. Okay. Who would you identify as important teachers, role models, or significant figures you encountered?
You want names or
a name or
significant people? The individual that convinced me to major in sociology was a guy named Dr. Edward C. Powell. He was the chairman of the department at the time. I was, and I can't remember whether I encountered him my freshman year, but I think that I did. But what happened was I had no intentions of actually being a sociologist. I was going to go to law school, but I got into sociology, liked it, never got out. 50 years down the road, I'm still in it.
Okay. How is campus?
The environment itself. Students now seem to be very disengaged with what the student is, what the school is all about, its history, its uniqueness. There's no understanding of that at all.
At all. Do you have anything that you would like to happen in order to change that?
That's also a pretty good question. I can't really think off the top of my head of any specific strategy that I would say, hey, we need to implement that right now. Because I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. You can't change the culture of an institution overnight. We didn't get from where I just described it to where we are right now, like yesterday.
Yes.
I mean, that happened over a very extended period of time. Different kinds of events, different kinds of policies, different kinds of professors, all of that resulted in what we have now versus what we had then. So what it really would require is a serious effort on the part of people who can bring about change in this institution, sitting down and deciding on what they want this place to be, and then making that happen. Um, I don't think that that really has happened. I think that folks who come in have their ideas about what they think the university ought to be.
When you hear about the campus activities of shootings and kids are losing their lives, how do you feel about that?
Well, actually, there's no simple answer to that one either. I will say that I do not think that what's happening on our campus, and when I say our campus, Texas Southern, and what's happening at places like Winston-Salem, the other HBCUs where these shootings have also happened. I don't think that they're the same as what's happening on the traditionally white campuses. I think our issues stem more from one group of kids getting mad at another group of kids, and then that escalating into a situation that probably should have been handled way before it got to that level. But once it happened, one kid shoots another kid, and the other kids go get their friends, and they bring their friends back, and they're going to retaliate and da 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 da. Now, with respect to that, that stuff happened when I was in school. So, I mean, that's about like saying, you know, the police are abusing African American males now. That's been happening since Lincoln freed the slaves. Authorities have been abusing African American men. So it's just that now it's more in our consciousness. And so instead of saying, well, what do we do now? We should be asking the question, why is this continuing? I mean, obviously, we're not thinking about this right. We're not understanding what's actually causing this. And until we, what word am I looking for here? Until we decide that we're going to take a serious look at this problem, it's going to keep happening. See, right now, everybody's responding emotionally. You know, oh, you know, it's racism that's going on. Oh, you know, the president took the paint off the signs. I mean, off the trees or something, you know. I mean, but that's really not, yeah. Kids getting killed right over in the rec center, fights, kids, you know, doing what kids do. And it escalated into situations that resulted in people getting hurt. And so, yeah, folks got in a little protest mode, kind of like we are right now, and hollered, screamed, and got it closed. But here we are, 40 years later, and guess what?
Same
So, yeah, we got that done. That calmed it down, but we haven't really addressed the real problem. And until we do that, we're still going to have this problem. I think one of the, if I had to, the one thing that kind of, you asked me earlier about, you know, the differences and things like that. And again, I, you know, say it may have just been the crowd that I hung around with. But students who come to the university now, a lot of them don't even know why they're here. They just come because somebody told them they need to go to college. They really don't understand even where they are or what the potential is here. They just come, and they will come to you and say, teach me. You got taught in high school. This is, that's not what this is. So, but, yeah.
Okay. Do you think HBCUs are important? Why or why not?
I think education is important. An HBCU is an educational institution. So to answer your question, yes.
All education is important.
Yeah, and the question implies that there is some difference there. But I could go so far as to say that an education at Sam Houston is different from an education at Stephen F. Austin, which is different from an education